Today I'm going to give you some guidance on the Mahamudra teachings that we received yesterday. In general, I don't know much and can't tell you very well, but without going too deeply or trying to be too profound, I will begin by explaining the preliminaries to the practice, which are arousing bodhicitta, the altruistic motivation, and the four turnings of the mind, which begin with generating a sense of renunciation, a weariness with the world and with samsara. And then we focus on loving kindness, compassion, and bodhicitta, and whether or not, regardless of what we are practicing, be it the generation stage or the perfection stage, whatever it is, these preliminaries are very, very important. Does everyone have this handout?
More?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Oh, thank you. Oh, today, I just want to know. Chelsea, I didn't say that. Chelsea, I didn't say that. Just don't take a look at my chin. Or to do my Julius Street. Virgin John, the Lonaro, my Julius. Or today, so the Malady pick. That's a thing I didn't do. Strong race, Malady, but they go over. Telegies as on race. The Pamotre telegies long. Then Jigan Pamotre, Ghana, Maumba, Chiranda, Chiran Loma, Saman, Detour, chewing up on the Chiran and Yamachis, Chiran Loma, Saman, Detour, the cheese, and what then Drikung Nadian Sazeta, and Drikung Mars, Drikung go to Mars and Yamachias, Drikung go to Marcias and Yamachiate, and chatting Nadian Chishu.
In general, this teaching, known as the fivefold path of Mahamudra, comes when, in order to put it into practice, we need to remember and appreciate the lineage through which it was passed down to us, stemming originally from Saraha, Tilopa, Naropa, but primarily from Milarepa, who taught this to his disciple Gampopa, who then passed it on to Mahamudra. instructing Mahamudra to make this the primary practice, the primary teaching for all of his disciples. And it was from there that the school of the Drikung was sort of officially formed. First of all, this fivefold Mahamudra practice is found in numerous forms, ranging from very elaborate to very concise. And this particular practice that we have is fairly concise. Did I say precise? I meant concise. It begins with an homage to the lamas. We bow down and request them to grant their blessings. And these are not just any lamas, but the sublime, authentic lamas, particular to this lineage. The five folds of the path of Mahamudra are arousing bodhicitta, doing deity yoga, deity visualization, then guru yoga. Fourth is the actual Mahamudra practice. Fifth is the dedication. Without the first, the arousing of bodhicitta, there's no chance for anyone to attain Buddhahood. It's essential to the path. Without deity visualization, we have no way to purify our ordinary perception. Without guru yoga, we have no access to the transmission of the lineage and the blessings, which ripen our mind streams. Without the actual practice of Mahamudra, we have no chance to attain realization. And without the dedication, there's a danger that whatever virtue and merit that we generate or accomplish during our practice can be destroyed by a moment of anger or various circumstances that would endanger our accumulation of merit. So the dedication seals the merit that we have created. The Mahamudra tradition encompasses the approaches of both sutra and mantra. The sutra aspect is the arousing of loving kindness, compassion, and bodhicitta, and the mantra approach. And dedication also falls under the sutra approach, and the mantra approach encompasses the Yidam deity visualization, the Guru Yoga, and the actual practice of Mahamudra. Okay, so we practice, when we undertake this practice, we are combining both sutra and mantra together. And then we take refuge, without which we are not practicing the Buddhist teachings. And we arouse bodhicitta, which has as its essence the inseparability of emptiness and compassion. Okay, so reciting the first two lines, we see that we begin the practice by doing a self-visualization. We are in the form of Avalokitesvara, or Chenresik. And our form is apparent, vividly clear, yet empty of any substantiality, inherent existence. It's the example here is the mirror, but also like a rainbow appearing in the sky. We, free of the extremes of nihilism and eternalism, we undertake the practice of, and we also embody all of the phenomenal existence throughout samsara and nirvana, all of the magnificence and qualities. And then we begin the practice of Tonglen, which is giving and receiving. We give whatever virtue and merit and happiness we have to all outwards, to all sentient beings.
근데 냥데 상면 변용 당 대한 데 리송 어 변조의 용태 상마랑 대한 데 리송 소르진의 세제는 그러바 냥데 상마 어때 뉴타파 타파 진고도 근데 지상 동래는 장초선이라 장초선 공략 어때 농치안 조와는 다게 되게 상마 심지한 미스 나 파롱 파송도 랑주를 대와데 개와 그래 오나 티참마들 심지한 상마 파미바치 심지한 상마치스 심지한 담지 되게 당된 바 초크셔서 와다 심지한 담지 대와 당된 동아 당체 되네 심지한 담지 개베를 개와 당된 대와데 개와 당된 대 심지한 상마 초크를 쇼송상 대디 스광고를 정도
there's a possibility that we might feel like we don't have much to give, and if we're trying to send out all of our virtue and merit and happiness, maybe we are feeling particularly impoverished to start with, and that there's not much to offer. However, in this practice, we understand that we naturally embody all of the glory and qualities of all of the Buddhas. We begin on that premise. So there's infinite goodness to give out. This practice of sending and receiving Tonglen is actually in order to generate bodhicitta. And so by sending out through, exhaling through our nose, we send out all of our happiness and virtue to all sentient beings, and imagine that happiness and virtue ripen within all of those beings, and they are then happy and free of suffering.
소소 녀인 토라 당지 요레스 당지 요라 당지 티강라 손에 근데 당지 티메바 차송삼 그래서 지는 대통 대와 자동바 미 송오zam당 중지 냥바 조고레스 제가 다 소소 동아랑 디당 와타 테치신
닝나 랩산인데 당진은 메바당
네 소소 녀인 나라 당지 요레스
데 메바당
트라 템네 당지 강 템네 당지 코란이 메바 파샤네 다 대와 동바 미 송사 대통
대와 동바 라서 Then we continue the visualization by imagining that all of the suffering and negativity of all sentient beings radiates from them, and we inhale it into our hearts, relieving them of all of their miseries. And when all of that negativity and suffering arrives in our hearts, it destroys whatever self-cherishing and ego-clinging we may have, and transforms into bliss, the inseparability of bliss and emptiness. Okay, and then we imagine that all beings' suffering has been relieved, and they transform into the Dharmakaya. 포모니 샤브 지데는 요래라 이나 테커스나 도착해서 데모 좀 지요레스 손쇼리라 와테 튼전 당스데 랑헤르가 도지에 당 치부 예 장베 쇼바
토감가 오진 토바 가보 나주 도샤 딱파 참타 다 자자 초된 바 용도지 방모 저거 토반지바 주바 해루가 나나나 힘에 메로나 수냐다스 라도 어때다 그 제당 야的用的那么东北的南通亚嘛这吧从小的也不用你多我在那么的东北亚嘛这个机我托看的就是他托看就是说我的托看托被跟托龙中多托下子我这趟其实怕个人呢他心中就说了心中不去的说怕南托的说怕几从小样的南托过节的南上怕南托就是我现在南托怕出送的那么多的从小是吧？我这我的天主在哪了让移民吧？这是没弄那苏联那些光过这种多。对吧？是吗
？So that beginning practice of Tonglen constitutes the first of the fivefold Mahamudra, the bodhicitta section. And from within this foundation of bodhicitta, we begin the visualization of the Yidam deity. And here in the text, there's a description of the visualization upon a lotus and sun seat, and with the corpses, 2 corpses lying on that throne, that seat, and the deity is standing up on those 2 corpses, which symbolize suppressing or defeating the 3 poisons: desire, attachment, aversion, and ignorance, or delusion, confusion. And then standing on top of them with the right leg extended, one visualizes oneself as the blue Heruka, holding a vajra and bell, ornamented with the 6 mudras and wearing a tiger skin skirt, a crown of 5 dried skulls, and a garland of 50 freshly severed heads. You are embraced by the consort Red Varahi, who holds a Drikung and skull cup. Okay, so the fact that the deity is mother, father, Yabyum in consort, that symbolizes the union of appearance and emptiness. And the skulls, for example, symbolize having cut through all conceptual thoughts. Shamba Sungbe.
상제 탐진 되게 다니 인상 소소소소 다 ngajar 고레스 ngajar te jeton ngajar sriate nyomombe ngajar mares dijon ha 인상 ngajar 고레스 ha 인상 ngajar te yona ha ti kwacha soso gyure kya la go yores
we think that we imagine or we visualize that the deity appears and yet is without substantial nature, like a reflection in the mirror. And then we think that we are the self-nature of all the Buddhas combined. And at this point we generate intense pride. And this is not ordinary pride, not deluded pride, but divine pride, the pride of knowing that we are, in fact, the deity.
탐지라 와다 제통가 저 소당왕 탐지라 다 자카 차나 상망아 그런지 대 전토 탐지 다 초큰종 와더니 토 되게 바더니 토 주니 로바니 와다 된주지 제렘 가르잖아 된주 고함소나 대 배장자 상는 가서 지로 유청마 시행강 정지 유청마 시행강 더 나와 참마다 더 사모 그런지지我听这个我们这什么啊个东西，这全套什么秋裤东西，这就你们来提说呢，这也让啥这样这样也当啥这样电把投票了，来了个这是听就点光投是全把满人光送了，
卡来来个这，
这样电把投票了，
这样电把
电不巧了，
那是吗？
电不巧了，这股票有的是啊。
tempo chayala karigodu.
펜토 요레스 다나마 라 차방아 아레자 노트루 윤대 냠냐 치토나
Chirim la pento gre jima.
제람 템포 차갈
제제제.
펜치 요레스
And now the text reads that all appearances are the deity, all sound is mantra, and all mental activity is the enlightened mind of all of the Buddhas. So in general, we hear that in the Dharma that all form, all appearance is the deity, all sounds are the mantra of the deity, and all the conceptual thoughts are essentially are the display of awareness. In order to put this into practice, we don't have to see every tiny form as a little deity, but rather that our entire environment is, and the building that we're in is the celestial mansion of the deity. The environment is all of the pure realm of the deity, and the sound, all sounds that we hear are the mantra of the deity. And this visualization helps us to stabilize during the generation stage. Stabilize the visualization.
와드네 텐루다 이zamte 고함데레 나나 텐루 이zam 탐보 소소 조마친 디스 고함고라 와드레 조마치 야네 하 고함소나 드레 야고 고함손 드레 오네 고 나와트네 라샤르 그레스
In the beginning, when we attempt this kind of vast visualization, it feels contrived, like we're faking it. But with practice, we become so accustomed that it becomes an authentic experience.
가르스나 텐루 지나드네 장조 셈라 티난 두디 요레스 가르슨 하라 노체 당고 마라테
사점 그래?
장조 셈 하라 노체 당고 마라 노체 노바치기 마라
로체스나?
노체 호나나 노트 노 호 찬네 세 노체
the 호적
마리마
카레
네 소소사 야보 공디나 심제 힘바 노체 당고 마라 노바치기 마라
제제
와테 치두 대 장조 셈라 티기 랑이 코티난
맞아
그래서
네 하고서 맞아
노마 참마라 야디 소소 파하라 노바 당고 마라
Another benefit that naturally comes from this kind of practice is that if we constantly visualize ourselves as a deity and recognize everything in our environment as divine, there's no chance that we would be motivated to harm anything that we encounter. So in essence, it's a bodhicitta practice as well.
tene tanga zo tere ta rang ki ninka rang heru ka ji ninka la peni dian la se ta rang ki zabe la ma the on heru ga yamyom namba ji heru ga yamyom namba ri dire sorke zam me gor sorke din de la soda ha ko yo sorkes what is me gor ye zong do te ta la ma re te ya ta ti dam chin de la ma chi ra
la so okay and ta la men na jor
no na men jor
okay. So now we're moving into the practice of Guru Yoga, which begins with the visualization. We are visualizing ourselves as the blue heruka, and then at our heart centers, we visualize upon a lotus and sun seat our Lama, also in the form of the heruka Yabyum deity, about four finger widths in height.
tene ti ne zomneta oma hon ne zom oma hon wom se chebar om timba a toka hon om gombi te wozen chu ne tene tere pa wozen chu di tene chokju choju tu zom ta zaba tang ju be lama tamba tamji sangje changcho samba tamji go la tiam song zang mari ma di song wozen chu ne chokju tu zom ye changje 와드네 소소의 내용 파워전 초네 상제 창조 선바도 투담구 얘네 상제 창조 선바 다 잡아 주고 나마 처음에 그거자 투기 진합 상마 소드네 랑템 랑테 랑도 랑테 나마지 와 니가 나마 템 나마테 상제 창조 선바 상마 군두들이 뭐 조선 zam도
나서 Then we continue the visualization by imagining an Om syllable in the forehead of the Guru, an Ah syllable in the throat, and a Hong in the heart center. And from these 3 syllables, infinite rainbow light rays radiate outwards, striking the heart centers of all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas throughout all of space, and invoking their wisdom minds, compelling them to send forth back to us all of their blessings and wisdom and realization, which then dissolves into the 3 syllables. Oh, sure. Such that we are then endowed with all of the combination of all of that blessing power. Oh, Drukpo.
Lama Sanje Rinpoche la Jab Sunchi was, Jinji Lab the Zora, Jinu Zurat and Debore, Zondwa, Zurat Kasitana, the Kamamand down for Esra. What is China?
Okay, so at this point, we imagine that we are in the company of all sentient beings. Foremost among them being our parents, our mother and father of this life. And all of everyone in unison with intense devotion and longing, intense yearning, recite this supplication to the Lama and the Buddha, saying, all of us, mother sentient beings, equal to space, take refuge in the glorious Lama, the precious Buddha, and please bestow your blessings upon us.
Ta chose Chishuna, Chu Yang Taba Masona, Chu Maris. They are Chu Yabo Chishuna, Tinjitan Chuji in the Andaman and Redina, the Chu Yang Taba Maris. What a Mandriva, that Chu chose and Rovar Chinji Lobsra. What in the Chu Lam to Rovar City, Chu to Lam to Roya. That's a Ranji Bork, Ranji Bork Sanji to Yazam dance, the Chu Lam Yang Taba Mason race. What in do? That Chanjo same time, but sometimes the long Chuchi, the Chu Lam to Rover, the Chinji Lab source, Chu Lam to Rover. The Lam Chua see what a Chinji Lab source, the Lam Chua did what that Chu Lam to this one, Chu shoes. One the Chu in this Gunda North, Chu Lam to Rover Sena, Kurbe Deva Chane, Kurbe Deva Chane, Chu Siuna. Neck out and the mental Jivan, the chose the lamp soil Mare. The Watilla Chu lamp Timachale, Yandi Sanje to Zamodane, Chuchina, Chu lamp to Rovasira. What in a lamp to us, you are changes. Then to us, the Carizana, Ranji Bor Sanje to Zamodana, Ranji Bor Yantava Maris, lamp to Aris. Say, Harsana, a Tipa member Condo Grace, a Tipa member Corsona, Sanje to be a Urin Gondo Grace. What in you, what in Lam Chua, that Chancho Sam Tibo, Chancho Sam, Tom Netiba Chimbo Lam show by Shinji Lobsera, then Chua is Charva Shinji Los, then Chua is Chariate Carsana. That makes the what go for it. That may be that Chancho Chimbo Gumian, Topa Chimbo Gumian, what then Chua is Charva. 진짜 랍도 tor what solvata bore sondo.
So having requested their blessings for our mind streams, we pray that our minds may continually turn toward the Dharma, not towards ordinary concerns that we're normally preoccupied with. And also that we pray that our Dharma may be authentic Dharma and not Dharma mixed with the ordinary worldly concerns. Then we pray that our Dharma practice may continue to go along the path, the authentic path of Dharma, rather than straying into... The way that we stray is by mixing our practice with hope for some kind of samsaric happiness. And then we pray that our confusion, our delusion may may arise as wisdom. And this means our confusion being, if we have the motivation that we alone, we're doing this practice for our own personal happiness, our own personal Buddhahood, as opposed to the swift path, the vast attitude of the Mahayana for the sake of all sentient beings. So in all of these, the basic point is to be free of the concept of self of persons and self of things.
This was that is what Lama Yamyon, nobody who Changsho Sim, Ganman Dan Chaba, Pane, Rank Lu Sama Kane, Luga is on Jiba Pata, Jiba Patane, Sami Deton Chos, Sami Siata, Jetonsen, Safasen, Leo Barita, Dembo Barita, Dembo Yoleta, they were the combat. Chosonzam, the one lady, go on in it. One, what the thing is, you want to know, the one you don't stop, top some of
thing is in the one.
One don't go to the Chancellor Conan, the rise of Japan, they don't wish to talk, no one you don't stop, top some of them. Do you know, man? Do you want what I want the thing is, you want Gilana, Tamtanium Charge about the John took it is so.
Okay. After making these prayers, we visualize that from the meditative absorption of the Lama Yabyum union, white bodhicitta tinged with red fills one's body entirely. It purifies the obscurations of your body, speech, and mind, together with their karmic imprints. They are transformed into the essence of the undefiled bliss and emptiness. And here, undefiled means not mixed with karma, not any kind of habitual propensity coming from karmic imprints. Pure bliss and emptiness. And we receive then the 4 empowerments.
다 제탕 지나 신의 공탕 정도 펴서 신의 요라 다 제탕 신의 공탕 담는다 요라 근데 다랑 나고 용판 나고 용파서 바가 고리 살아노 용파가는 나고 예바 농고제 나바 손네 진 심지어 나고 용파 요 심지어 그 셈다다
당보 용바래 예바
용파 가노
용바라바
용파 가서 가네 심지어 나고 나고 예바 농고제 나바 손데 진 심지어 그 나고 용네 요 심지어 그 셈다 다 지과 조송상 심지어 셈다 Rangsim, Jiba Chosong.
Okay. Then after this we begin sort of what constitutes the practice of shamatha within this practice. And in general there are many ways to practice shamatha. Many with and without, relying on or not upon an object. In this case, it's our breath that we're focusing upon, and the practice begins by blocking the left nostril and exhaling rays of light from the right nostril, thinking that they enter into the left nostrils of all sentient beings. So at this point, we imagine that our minds are inseparable from the minds of all sentient beings. Okay. Then the sugar. Yeah. Okay. 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 Then we visualize that all sentient beings exhale through their right nostrils, and that breath enters through our left nostril. And with it, the essence of all of the Buddhas, of the 3 times, and the enlightened mind of the Lama merge with our own mind in such that they are inseparable, as well as the pure nature of the minds of all sentient beings. That is the experience of one taste, or one essence. And having absorbed that, we rest in natural meditative absorption. So now that sort of completes the shamatha portion of the practice, and then we enter from that place of abiding, resting in meditative absorption. We begin the Vipassana section of the practice, and we ask ourselves from whence did the mind come? Where did it come from? Where did it arise? What is the source? Then we try to figure out where it is abiding while it's here, and where it will depart to, where it will go. As Rinpoche explained yesterday, it's very important for us to analyze and investigate our minds on our own like this, asking all of these questions so that we can come to some conclusion, some firm, stable resolution based on our own experience. By doing this kind of deep investigation, striving again and again in investigating and analyzing the mind, we are able to realize all of the nature of mind that was explained so carefully yesterday, as far as how conceptual thoughts are co-emergent with mind, all of the qualities of mind nature.
당보대 신내디스 공부 그래.
맞아.
신내디스 미난데 소소소소 셴바제 공나 싫어. 공투고 말에 그 딱지 지용도 가서나 신내 미나 배잖아 롱나는 말매제 요나 말매트 롱 남상송도 되나기 남토쇼 제차 남상치 되네 소소 셴바테 디스 교총차 되게 공투쇼는 그래. 이 신내 오나 되게 소소 냠 강거 하나 되 유레인스 네토야. 그거 좀 봐.
However, as far as this analysis goes, it's not very easy to accomplish without some kind of accomplishment in shamatha. So, at this point, as beginners, we focus sort of more strongly on stabilizing our minds. Otherwise, we are like a butter lamp flame, which is easily affected by any tiny breeze or breath of wind. So, in order that we can actually do the Vipassana analysis, we have to prolong the period in which our minds can abide in a focused place.
하고와 잠라. 어때 고종 미바스. 다 셈 고종 치도 야마. 도 강이 마줘봐. 조배 타 잠지 제바도. 도파세 제와스. 들루 다다시 친구도 다 돈다 강이 마줘 조바스. 다 다파데 제바데 요바데 메바 잠지 바타 제데레세. 내로 또 그래스라.
That's and through thoroughly investigating our own minds, we discover that the nature of mind is simply awareness and its display, or the experience of its energy. And apart from that, there's nothing at all to be identified or discovered. But it's through this investigation process that we come to our own experiential realization of what exactly not falling into the extremes of eternalism, nihilism, or any other misunderstanding of our minds, but we come clearly to the place of personal realization of the mind's nature.
되네. 다가리 송다선데 되네. 대릭동 니스미베 자자신보 리과다 동바 니스미레데 이게 되니 자자신보 히바르스 데데 자자신보레스 리과다 동바 예르메레 자자신보레 정도와 히바르샤스라
남유 대동 말해 릭동
대통 다 지관 정도래
나서
리과스나 대통세나 또 치바시라 요 말에
Okay, and here we arrive at And at this point we arrive at the realization of the inseparability of awareness and emptiness, which is the essence of Mahamudra. And here I asked, isn't it the inseparability of bliss and emptiness? And he said, oh, clarity and emptiness, bliss and emptiness, awareness and emptiness. They're basically pretty much all the same thing. If you experience bliss, it's also emptiness. If you experience clarity, it's also emptiness. Awareness, also emptiness.
되네. 다들 이제 내주 강샤된 투마이 중 정도 내봐든 주바 카르다나다 강샤나 티가나 쳔바 많이 다 쳔바 개체 보여. 쳔바 요나 고미우스. 쳔바 미나 고미스. 쳔바 미나 고미 말세. 어다 내봐든 주바 카르다나 티나 쳔베 많이와 지바 메레티 냠나 치디나 되네. 남토 내봐 이제 남토 언제고나 남토 동치 투고 말세. 코나 봐. 라지 메바 차는 그랬어.
Okay. And from this place of focus and of clarity, understanding, regardless of what arises, whether the mind abides quietly or whether it moves and conceptual thoughts arise, it doesn't matter, whatever appears doesn't disturb one's mindfulness. Without mindfulness, there is no meditation. So it's very crucial to have that constant mindfulness, at which point all grasping onto conceptual thoughts falls away.
와, 전주 냠나 치토송나 샘네나 란주나 상마 쳔베 마이네 냠나 치는 지바 마요나 네나 저 체파요 마 상마 냠나 나베스라.
And at that point, when grasping has fallen away, when there's no longer any grasping onto whatever appears, then that is the practice. It doesn't matter what you're engaged in. That is the point.
와, 전다 쳔베 마진디 대 당지 효소는 되네 작당 가도 상마한테 티지에 용네 되나서 그게 동안 용쇼레스라.
차당 가래 차용나.
쳔베 야고 시마토나 되네 지로 남토 컨트롤나 되네 작당 용레스 작당 되네 가도 용레스 가도 되네 나도 다 그러와 참로 쇼레스.
맞아. However, if we continue to grasp onto appearances as they arise in the mind, then immediately we give rise to concepts of good and bad. Once we have concepts of good and bad, we experience happiness and suffering, and the whole thing gets going yet again.
다데 처제 친구 보면 아치라. 들이 마탕고 와리 상가 같은 거 와라.
맞아.
와탕고 와디 다 당군데 담지 뒤좀도 잡아 요비 개와서 라데 제 상제 장쇼 선바도 개와서 하래. 데베 개와서 하 마모 개와서 하래. 다다 개와서 하 참마서 대야제치네 심지어 참마에 통도 와치고 장부레스. 원고와치네. 어때? 나서 남가 다냐베 심지어 등고와 가르치고 심지어 참마 다 상제 요르도 토비. 다 나나미비 영타버 토비 장쇼 rinpoche 투야치 통고와치고 그 정도.
맞아. So that concludes the portion of this practice that it falls under the fourth fold, which is the actual practice of Mahamudra meditation. And now we come to the fifth fold, which is the dedication of whatever merit, virtue we have generated in the practice, not only in this particular session, but in all of the accumulated merit from all of our previous lifetimes, all of the merit that we will accumulate in the future, all of our present merit, as well as all of the merit and virtue of all sentient beings. All of that is dedicated to the attainment of perfect, unsurpassed Buddhahood for all sentient beings.
저는 진조라 당고와 모주 개와서 뭐세 유선천당 원케랑 참마랑 이마저베가 디스토니까 냠바샤고레스 카세나테 차자친 보고 같이
맞아.
대지에서는 코스 매매용 봐. 어떻게 신고 그랬어.
And when we do this dedication, we try as far as possible to be free of the three concepts, that of dedicator, or the subject, object, and action done. So those three dualistic concepts, we make a dedication free of those.
와, 저는 단지 요라타데 이총진도와 제 남카샤든지 남사 다고 추선 비모슈스 다제 큐요사라. 제 큐는 남카 제 남카샤든지 남도
남키샵
지 슬람도
공개찬
와 센센사리 다 제당 남카 전센세 랍치 남카 전센세 랍치
나서
랍치 세나마라베 되네라
나서
랍치 남카 전센세 공공만 드리공케 다 로주나 라마베 케치효제
나서
메세레 참주와 시도냐제 제
나서
어때 공공지와 다른데 제당 지난 침보래 정도
나서
뒤수 지난 종가바 뒤수들이 종가바지 종가바와
나서
손이 뒤수 지과래 나는 종가바 당본 드리공을 배라
나서
라마데서 지과래 거라니 남과 전세 지투말라 톡주와 이 라베 공남과 전세
그래? 밀라베
밀라레바 톡주와
톡주
톡주 톡주
산나는 자미 자가
밀라레 톡주와
took a Drupon.
Drupon is good. Just on the Drikung that's it. But you told catch it was not much. The cones in one. Just on Chenam Chimbo, isn't it?
This particular practice was composed by Labchi Namkha Gyaltsen, who was a very important Drikung master, lineage master, who lived at the same time as Je Dzongkhapa. He was this particular master was a lifelong retreatant. He did tremendous. He was a lifelong yogi, and this practice therefore holds tremendous blessing, and he's considered a heart emanation of Milarepa. If you can put this into practice, it's wonderfully short and full of blessing and easy to squeeze into your day. And now he said we're going to start on the new text, and I have no idea how far we'll get. Okay, here's a spare copy if someone needs one. He has his own.
Can I ask a couple of questions?
Yeah,
okay. Okay, so the shamatha, are we visualizing like the breath like going in a circle between my left nostril and my right, going to the sentient beings and coming in around in a cycle? As I'm trying to do the shamatha.
He said, I think that's probably the way it is, even though, depending on how far away they are, it might be a stretched out circle.
Okay, and then my second question, for a real beginner, I'm like struggling to figure out what this emptiness is and awareness and all that. But once I get out from my meditation and I'm going about my day, you talk about awareness. For a beginner, what kind of mindset should I try to keep with this awareness? Because I don't have the concept of emptiness, so what is my awareness?
It's basically a continuation of the period after between your sessions is a continuation of the same effort to release your grasp on whatever arises. So as you're going about your activities, if a conceptual thought arises, to attempt to be aware of it arising and not grasp onto it. Same sustained intention there.
Thank you.
Yeah, okay.
So with visualization of Prabhupada, we get like Guru in the heart. Is Guru like standing on like lotus and sun and moon disk, and also is there a visualization of the heart with some kind of like heart of the Guru inside of our heart?
Is it exactly the same, you mean? Inside and ourselves?
Yeah, like
what's he standing on? Okay.
What's the heart of the Guru?
Oh, what's in the heart of the Guru?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. The Hong syllable. But okay. Yeah, 이담 다 공지 알아서 가서 님의 된 털어
네.
주거라 봐.
네.
제가 로니 털어
네.
야샹 대낭시 라마 닝가라 나서 닝가라 라마 대양 단다랑 리베사 샵 된 간다도사
샵 된 베마 와든 라도 베마데 대지과다 사리
직장 his the lama's seat or place is exactly the same as what we visualize under ourselves. 라마가 투갈라 그래도
투가 라미스 잘라만도 홍 미스 라만도 저통 덤초 코나이나 투케 투소 홍라선 니 라미스 잘 라미스 곰 잘라만도 곰마지 곰마레서
유나 댐초
코나 투소 지나다 홍라
나서
덴디노 미스 잘만도 왔다
there's nothing in particular explained or identified as what is inside the heart center of the lama. Sometimes in some practices there's the chakra samvara with the mantra spinning around, but in this text it's not indicated.
와 전에 가시 텐줄람도 나 자베 라마 미 있으라 테미 있을 때 가르고 남녀도 안텐도 요나 데 샤말라레 반장온다 지fen 좀 공장 고험나 소소티 지남 주그레스 소 믹스 자베 라마 미나
some people are concerned that they don't have a root lama or a particular human lama that they feel a strong connection to, and so doing the guru yoga, it's difficult to figure out who to think of. He said in that case, it's you can simply imagine Milarepa there in your heart center, and that holds tremendous blessing for everyone.
지fen 좀 공장 지fen 좀 공 지fen 공
양면나.
양면 지fen 공
Otherwise, alternatively,
소소 가르가나
직단 공부 그래 직단
말라레 반종 지fen 공 지fen 공 되나리
송근 직단 송근 he is also an option. Oh, that's the founder of Drikung Suresa. 직단 송근 suresa.
지fen 송공 나좀 지금 가지고 다 가상 송송송아 저당 상제 좀 된데 톡주와 letsambeese la veres 톡주와 letsambe 어디 주한 거 뭐로 그래서
나서
어루로 주와 지fen 송공 인스
나서
어때 지fen 송공 등 가좀 지금 가지고 당보 중요하대 당 지금 가지고 당보 되래 다단 지금 가지고 때 내가 10주산도 내가 10주 내가 라라 10주산도
실라 10주
라라 10주산도 시바데
오케이
지fen 송공 말타 로 배제 제자다 숨숨가서 도요래
나서
와다테 당보 지fen 송공 지금 가지고 다 저도냐 테테레스
나서
Gave these out to people
yeah. As Rinpoche explained yesterday, Jigten Somgun is a emanation of Nagarjuna, who was a heart emanation of Buddha Shakyamuni, and he Jigten Somgun is credited as being the sort of father of the Drikung Kagyu lineage, which is at this point about 40 generations of lamas long, 800 plus years.
자 숨숨나서 제자 숨숨나서 공부 당보 중
835 years ago. And he was here. So there he is.
One more question. So this empowerment, we're given the empowerment to visualize ourselves as Blue Haruka with Vajravahi. Is that Haruka the same as Chakra Samvara?
Yeah, same. Yeah.
So basically we're given the Chakra Samvara empowerment too?
Yeah, this Chirang Lama, the non Lama quality to swam the one daughter, Soso Java Sambara Lamara, Soso Java Sambara, Lamate Java Sambara Motele.
Ngasa thobe wang dang chakra sambara wang dawa dawa resa su Chakra Samvara wang top song is chogadevesa de gomya.
소소소 공야 쇼래서 뭐.
Yes, but primarily focusing on that chakra samvara as your lama. And yes, through that wang, through that empowerment, you are permitted to meditate on chakra samvara, although it is not specifically a chakra samvara empowerment.
소소소 냠내 치야라. 소소소소 냠내 치야 되게 좀
There.
말이 말다. 와, 토송산다. 소소소소 냠내. 어떤지도 야다 케미. 야.
He said for individual practice, but I was trying to clarify for individual practice of what, but he said forget it.
So it's okay.
It's okay. You are, yeah.
So in thinking of sustained emptiness, it puts me in mind of primordial awareness. And is there similarities? How are they different?
찬송해.
그거 말씀해.
그래서 얘네 옆에 르빠.
네네.
딱바리 옆에 똥바니 체벌 카레 열에 드와 열에
딱바리 옆에 똥바니 있잖아.
가자. 똥바니 여여봐. 똥바니 여여봐라 봐.
네네.
대당 얘네 옆에 르빠. 드와 열에서 카가레 간다레사.
얘네 옆에 네 제타 주나마 토송난도와 대화리 피님 보고 동바레 스톤이 초크레 슬람도 세라레 지바레 동니선 동니선 거주제노와 동니선은 유민이 타체데 슬라표라
맞아.
동바세 배상的차는 차만도的동바레선 주민아 이 동바세 팅카하레 슬라
맞아. As far as emptiness goes, it's not the kind of voidness or emptiness that we think of when it comes to a mug. If we open it and there's no water inside, we say it's empty. That's not the emptiness that's referred to here. Emptiness in this context means freedom from the extremes of existence and non-existence. It's empty of those two extremes. And it's inseparable, always united with primordial awareness.
야, 다른 것도 네가
다른 요래. 그래. 간다래.
야.
I have an indigenous question just to clarify because I've read extensively about it. I'm not sure if I'm getting it. I think the definition, from what I read of the Nagarjuna's philosophy, is something along the lines of emptiness suggests an inability to be self-generated. So it's something that is not self-arising. Like this building didn't build itself. Right? And the qualities of ego and self-grasping would be appropriate to something that was able to build itself. But since we can't do that, it's best to focus on the emptiness, the inability to not think of ourselves as self-arising or separate or anything self-sustained. And that falls into emptiness is where I want to go. Now, is that what we're doing here?
Sorry. Well, not thinking of ourselves as self-arisen.
Yeah.
Is that what you said? Self being like create. Are you getting at creation?
No.
Created?
There seems to be an analysis in all the discussions I consider everything is empty because nothing can create itself or build itself. We all have mothers, we all are generated in this world.
So perhaps dependent origination is what you're
That sounds right.
meaning. Okay. 동반이던 땐라 so you want to know the relationship between emptiness and dependent causation, or?
I think the relationship between emptiness and self-grasping, because within, I feel like what I'm being asked to do is if I find a proper emptiness stance, self-grasping
Wait, a proper emptiness dance?
Stance.
Oh, stance. Okay. Just checking.
Then self-grasping just doesn't make sense because that would be, right, an aspect of my being really truly able to be individual, which that's, I don't know.
Okay, neither do I.
That's
I don't think I'm going to be able to communicate.
Okay, we'll talk later.
Yeah, okay.
Maybe she's asking what are the causes that give rise to ego. I think it's something like that. Is that what you're asking?
Say again?
What are the causes that give rise to ego grasping and ego? Is that what you're asking?
I'm pretty familiar with those.
女生，我上不了皮么的。
다 진짜면 인가도 제라 저와 제리
We're going to have a question and answer session at the end of this.
야 단테 인가도 this 마티고도 다데 베자 차제 강가 마스라 차제 진보 강가 멘트와 오럽 닝크스라고
No, so the rinwa kozolo.
레든 지단 강가만 this 드릭탕 다시면도
No, so
드릭탕 this 만다 디 나요 말해서 드릭탕 다시면 제 진행고디 초기를 좀 단면다 this 뭐 어때 this 진짜 딱딱 안데 다니 뭐 카톤 도시면 아 거야 요 말했으라
No, so sugar.
네
So now he's beginning to teach on a text which is the Mahamudra, the Ganges teaching of Mahamudra, which he says is arranged differently than what's in here. So he said there are many arrangements of this particular practice, and in this case, the two of them are essentially the same, but quite different in format. Naturally.
되네 아
인다이 가가래.
되네 차제 진보 강가 멘트와 오럽 닝크스 어때 차제 진보라
맞아.
강가 마스나 강가 마스는 제가 추 강가 세진도 어딘뒤라 딘 잠트라라 데로베 베 나로바라 송레스 추 강게 담나 어때 메인티 추티 메인 톱네 메인 추 메인 톱네 강가 마스 센터바스 등 오럽 닝크스 오럽 탐지 닝키 쿠안도 있으다 좀 좋았어 메인
The title of this text, the Ganges Mahamudra. Of course, we've already explained in detail what Mahamudra means. This particular transmission was given to Naropa by the master Tilopa on the banks of the Ganges River in India. Thus the name, the Ganges Mahamudra. And it is called Ngorubgit Ninku, which means the very quintessence, the innermost essence, heart essence of accomplishment.
되네 당나서 배자들이 마음만 갈래간 동원도 약사리면 뒤도 지나요 말아
롱능게
말이 지난 동시에 지난 조시에 준 동으로
야야.
와바르드제 nenjormala chancelo seta bardurje nenjorma chu delo ba shengan de je naro ba chu kanggen dang de dambala chagja chimbo kanggan be ne senji tong dang jor chi cha yong tong tong yu start jinan dong tu sare ma jor tu sare
람선들 톱사 말에 제 팔게 송요.
ma jinan ke ti tri ma jor tu sare enji do 들어왔어
카톡 인질러요.
jor tu ma do
네, there's a gorgre.
야야
인진이
야야 완다
야야.
대 담보들라 dorje nenjormala chancelo sela도 바 dorje nenjormala chancelo 스네 다 nenjorma chu delo beke chu kanggen dang ta chawde chimbo 나레스 나로바라 데라 생각 통다 요차다 형 통좀 요레스 생각 통선은 담보 맹기들이
나서.
된 요차서는 저 요리야 차서야 요르바 보고서 보게 로차바
아, 네.
로차바 요라
라차차로. 그렇죠.
로차
로차가 하고.
어디 저 요리들라 차서야
차차요.
차서 어디
나서.
대 형코나 통좀 요리 정도
나서. The text begins with an homage to the glorious Vajrayogini, And then the title is explained. The Mahamudra, the Ganges Mahamudra, was transmitted by the master Tilopa to his disciple Naropa on the banks of the river Ganges. And it is a precious instruction, the precious instruction of the Ganges Mahamudra. So there are three parts to this beginning of the text. One is the meaning of the name of the text, and then an homage to the translator of the text, and then finally the meaning of the text itself.
저는 담보다 생각이 통들라 말이면 저차들 하래 생각이 통라 생각이 통들라 담보 자가기 되어서 마하무드라 우바데샤스 마하무드라 우바데샤스 거기 도저나 대처자 전부 맹아스 어트리스 카르세나 다 담보네 호기에 자서 담보 자가기 샤고야테 로자와서 거지 체야다 로자서 거지 체야다
Gotcha.
로세 거지 체야다 어때 자가기 체남 주야 Sanskrit is laki. What the Chenam you got tell them Tambo Jaraki Shayores.
As for the name of the text, at first it's given in Sanskrit, Mahamudra Upadesha, which is translated as into Tibetan as Chakya Chambu Mangak, which is the pith instructions of Mahamudra. The reason for placing the Sanskrit words into the text at the beginning is to give the blessing, direct blessing of the name, original name, which then came through a translator into Tibetan. Yeah. Okay. And also to remind us of our debt of gratitude to the translators who brought the Sanskrit into Tibetan, without whom they wouldn't be able to access. As for Chakya, which means mudra, that the meaning of that is unsurpassed, nothing beyond, nothing above. And the reason that it's unsurpassed is that it is the inseparability of appearance and emptiness, of bliss and emptiness, of skillful means and wisdom or insight, transcendent knowledge, and emptiness and compassion. Encompasses all of that. Yes. No, so okay. All relative phenomena is appearance and nothing beyond. Yeah. This. Okay, sorry, I missed a section here. And all ultimate phenomena are empty, and there's nothing beyond that. Not so.
我这没对的呢，他前波写的，同大陆讲在前波是呀，这里也是。
And that is the meaning of mudra in Mahamudra, and the inseparability of those two, the union of the relative and ultimate, seals all phenomena, and nothing. Okay, and there's nothing beyond that. Therefore, the word Maha, or great, the great seal, encompasses everything. And the reason it's called pith instruction is because it is the essence of all of the 84,000 teachings of the Buddha. And now we come to the homage, and that is we bow down to Vajrayogini, Vajravarahi, because she was the source of this teaching. Tilopa received it directly from her. Okay. And then we come to the third portion, which is the meaning of the main text, which is divided into two sections of instruction. The first being how the origin of this teaching, how it came to be, and the second being how to put it into practice. And at the beginning the text explains what kind of disciple is a worthy vessel for this transmission. And the qualities of a proper disciple include the ability to endure hardships and austerities, forbearance, the ability to persevere, and sharp insight or intelligence, devotion and faith in the Lama, and diligence, strong diligence. Okay, now we come to the second portion, which has 5 sections. The first being the introduction, an introduction to Mahamudra. The second being an explanation of the essential meaning. The essential meaning of the teaching. Then an explanation of why it is beyond conceptual mind. Then the methods for putting it into practice. And finally, the companion or messenger who helps one realize the teaching. For the first, the introduction to Mahamudra, because the essence of Mahamudra is not something that can be demonstrated or indicated or shown or pointed out, masters rely upon metaphors to help the disciple understand or sort of get a sense of what they are going to discover through their own personal practice. And the main metaphor is always the empty sky, which also can't really be pointed out or grasped onto very well. So it's a way of showing that the mind is ephemeral. And then for the practice aspect, putting it into the maraba, This is realized through personal experience. Yeah, just okay.
Sanje chunare, sanje majonare, sochu tang, chuni rangi sochu tang cheba. Tame shi pa se lamdwa.
Sochu tang
jawa. Che son.
Che son.
Dangzi ma yo na sochu che de ra. Dangzi hyo son sochu de yo de ra. De che de da. Yonten tamji lu chi chob do res. Kona de wari pe nimbo mo wala. Yonten sama lu chi chob de yo res.
Sosu.
Yonten hunro.
Oh, hunro. Hunsu jobo.
Hunro mo chi hunro se de Yonten sama lu chi chob. Res. Ote nelo ki ton is, o nelo ki ton ta ba res. Ote ton ti nan ta nyamba jo nyang shen ya ko re song do.
Do.
De simjian sama de yo res. Yonten sama de wari pe nimbo de yonten dang de de. Yonten rang ji lu chi chob de. 我真是上节去也说东亚的，身边都要有嘛的是，他说多嘛多的，基本嘛多，在身边充满了有的也是。
The premise and the goal, the path, everything of Mahamudra is actual reality, chunyi dharmata, which is not created, not unmodified, free of any kind of self-clinging or dualistic conceptualization, and within it all qualities are spontaneously perfected. It is the ultimate way of abiding, or the ultimate fundamental reality, which pervades all sentient beings.
마초 뉴메강 샤고스 마초 뉴마스 뉴마스 야 예도메 셰파스라 쇼리다 어티강라 제 장sem 소보 친 샤고레스 제 소초도는다 데루치고 말레스 데루치나 다 소소 세 마초 뱅강 샤디나 당지 쟁데레소나 대파 초원로 그레스 당지 담데레 제고나 초원로 그레스
Okay.
초원로 그레스
So okay, and the way to practice this is to relax into the unmodified natural primordial condition of the mind. So in order to do this, when we tighten, all tightness needs to be released, relaxed. Released, untied.
제달 로베 수 배동은 간주 로게레서 나 배차서 샤나 남카다 세다지 나 배차 배요라 남카 지긴데레서 남케 지긴데레서 소데 대한 토고 말이야 네 대한 토고 말아 네 뭐 배테나 이레서 랑 샘스 랑 스토 다지나 되는 남토 삼아 봐 가노 그레스 남토 삼아 가네
징사 남칼라 징사 메파
와 징사 요 말레스 징사 요 말레스 남케 지긴데레서 대한도 요 말레스 와 랑샘 랑자이나 랑샘 징도사 요 말레스 다지나 남토 삼아 다른 남토 당지도 삼아 랑이 코나 돈이 방가 안로 그레스 들대는 남이 창조 토 그레스
So the way in which we go about letting go of tightness, untying knots, is expressed through the metaphor of attempting to tie a knot in the sky, bind up some portion of the sky. In the same way, our minds are utterly free of any kind of bounds and naturally released.
와, 단 천이 티피에게 천이 티바요라. 원 천이 도 천이 티바. 와, 저속에 가르잖아. 지기 돈다. 다 지기 뭐 보통마 내로 대한 페베레스.
So.
네 대한 페다 제 다 마보스다. 배 둔테 너무 둔테 참이 있을 마보스 시바게제 참이 있을 마보스. 마 대한 페베레스.
천이 반, 도
천이 반. 도 체니 봐.
Tenyuba, with characteristics. 하고서.
도 체니 봐게. 다 배창다서 치모 점모 파실로 당네. 어때? 또 치로 전 댐프베레스.
Okay.
치로 배창다 배창다 족센데라지는 단데랑 이 초비오 마레스 바족세 마보데 지지나 랑 이 초비오 마레스. 어떤 얘는 다 J the Thomas your maris Mambo said that J said to your maris Judean Pemberes or that Tenduchi on that Jamie Dorjee and Jeva Miba Droba Tamchi on Trade is or Tendu Paps on the T. dance on that Tendu yes are the Tonchism Mato the young Tabat thought of Maris that Tendu yes are some smells or young Tabat to Kalekabo rest till then. Look now, chart of Maris.
Okay. As far as the from the sutra perspective, the vehicle of characteristics, all external, substantial, well, apparently substantial material form is in fact uncreated, unborn, insubstantial, free of one or many. It's all dependent upon everything else. And in order to have a realization of this, it takes deep practice and sustained blessing, etc. So we at this point we just have an approximate. We sort of intellectually understand that, but not. It's very difficult to actually have an internal realization of it.
Watene tandre karsena lamek china diane lomarang zonamchi wati top te tabun zomsona ta ti tsai gambo to mambo dag mares tsai mambo to no tsai mambo to shira dag mares wate shepa geje yura rang ripa geje ti kyanga te sem ta chu ba te chi gres te na sem te ten pe top sona chingo po te rang yi ten pa no gres Malare Pesongore, Chuji Zava, Machu, Samji Zava, Chu Zava, the Jogo Maris. Chu Sanati Mobo, Sam Zava, what the Tandi, not Sam Zava Jogres, Sam Zava, Chu on the Chu Tomates, Rangi, then Pablo Gres, Kazan Jimala Pandasina, Beja, Janio, American, Mother, then Kung, Sam Dawson, Chu, some half of
Okay. So, in order to have this profound realization, the student relies upon the Lama's blessings. And it's the combination of the Lama's blessings and the student's merit that gives rise to an instant by instant realization of this profound nature. And once the nature of mind is recognized, immediately all perceived external material objects, the emptiness of all of that is also, it comes together. One realizes that as well. Milarepa said, don't cut the root of phenomena, cut the root of your mind. Once that happens, everything else becomes perfectly clear.
Wata chu tamji sam tsang di yore zong do sam tsang yore chu tamji sam chu du res wata sam te kare san rang san te geje ma ta ba re geje re re yo ndo res yo ndo ma to geje re de mo yu ru bo de mo do
men do
wata geje re zo te pe nyo ro re se wata ne rang kha chi lo ma lo ba chi rang kha nang zam mo da ne nang nam da ne dan de be sam te kan ru do de da ji na de be sam da ra ta si ji 남가 차한 portion 제요 말레스 남가 차한 portion 차한 por제레스 제요 말아 시야요 말레스 나 제탕가스 다 마오시 바데 만통스 마오시 바데 당게 코나 요 말스 통그 말레스 다다 다 나치 참마들 다시 야부 진다 마조 바는 거레스 마조 바 어디 로데데레스 남게 지다레스 뭐
all phenomena are encompassed within mind. And the quality of mind is constant change, moment to moment. Nothing sticks around for more than a second. Isn't that true? Have you noticed? When you look inside, that things are constantly moving. And he said, if we search for the tracks left behind by a thought that we just had, can you find anything? It's exactly the same as looking for the tracks left by a bird in the sky. There's nothing at all that's there.
근데 마오시 바든 다다 dak지치나 때 dak지치도 다다 데레세 대한토 말레스라
Likewise,
통그 말레스
if we search for a thought that has not yet arisen, but that will arise in the future, it's very difficult to find it or see it.
다다 단계제 요라 단계 코나 단계 코나제 요라 단계 코나제 다지나 코나 dak지제 치는 게제 같이 뒤송 상황들 코나 dak지제 도사 요 말레스 마타 말레스 코나
And if you try to find the person who's looking, that person also is impossible to find and constantly changing. The watcher. So this is why the teaching is beyond conceptual mind, like the track left behind in the sky by a bird that's flown through it. And through this process of investigation, we eradicate all doubt within ourselves and come to an experiential realization. And at that point, we realize the ultimate nature of reality. External objects appear to us. All of the many appearances that we have seem very solid, unmoving, permanent, and that reflects just how solid and fixed our own ego grasping is. As soon as that, through practice, weakens, our perception of external material objects also begins to dissolve. I mean, not the perception, but the perception of the solidity begins to dissolve.
초지고
추겠고.
어떻게
Okay.
onto on grace chokusana da sempre tonique te yet do me cheva so onto on grace so so
The young garçon. Son nom.
wata tendu nyam na sona tendu nyam ya ola sona de semni lande ji ba chojigo onto on so ran ton grace.
Okay. And through sustained practice, then the innate mind essence or the co-emergent mind nature, which is the Dharmakaya, we will have a manifest actualization, a manifest realization. We'll be able to clearly see and perceive that nature.
와트네 데레스다 남토 어터서 컨트롤에서 남토 어터서 지원 갑수 남토 컨트롤 갑거래서나 배차샤나세 사크나 랑바요라 사크 랑바 진바도 사나도 진바데 그래서 다 남게 남파 로그레스 남가 통으로 진바 몸몸 통시도 진바 몸몸 통도 진짜 진바 가래 송디세 진바들의 송세 대야마도 하
Kandas
진바 가란도 송스고
Kanado.
진바 로사
Mebadodi.
메바르디 와테 남갈 파템도 남갈 송 레스 가레 송 데레레스 댄서 요 마레스 와테 나지 베테 나지 레스 랑 샘케 랑 샘 좀 또페 남토 소 mamboje 요라 랑 샘네로 통소나 또페 발랍 상마랑 파 현도 그레스 랑이 현도면 한국 남토 로사도 파카하더라 남과제 요 마레스 소소소 파 현도 그레스
Also. Namdo gakpat. Gakpat can
가스는 랑이 파메 바창도 그레스 가스는 파 가베도라라
Java?
가스는 남토 메 바창도 그레스 소소 진행하시나
Okay. Okay.
근데 들라서 와탄 남토 소소 칼라 송세나 사나티 남카 가레송나 요 마레스라 진바스소 어때 샘 총 남토 상마 샘 뭐고 통나 남토 상마파 당도 그래서 당도 창도 그래서
Okay. So as for how to, I was clarifying the verb here because often in some texts you see block the thoughts, and actually it's not a transitive verb. It's not to block. It's to allow to cease. So there's not actually the attempt to stop thoughts, but to allow them to dissolve naturally by themselves. So there's a huge distinction between the two forms of the verb. Anyway, okay, as for how to allow thoughts to dissolve on their own, it's similar to clouds forming in the sky. Once a cloud has dissolved into space, and we search for where it went, it's impossible to find because it has simply faded away into space. So that in the same way, waves or individual thoughts, waves of thoughts, simply return to mind nature without a trace.
와다 샘이 뭐 내로 통통나 남도 그 배장도 추발람 남도 추발람 이래 추발람이라 세탐 탐데 티 추발람 상마 방가 안로 그래스 와트는 또그래서 로워 처마이 남도 어디 정말 로워 처마스 드레스
Laboratory.
로워 처마스 배장도 지 남가 대마나 이래스 지 남가 대소도 지파 매바 손케지 고 말이스 지 코나 매바 장도 그래스 배테나 이랑 샘 내로 대장디나 남도 신케한테 고 말이스 코나 sempre nelo mo yabo jangdina kono meba chalo des
Laboratory. Tima yomaraba ya.
lower chima jitang nam to se ya lower chima des lower chima se na tele jitang na to ta sem kono sem nelo kono derke ningo se ya des sange ma ko sanje des ra
Laje.
o te lower chima se na te
Drip.
drip ya lower chima la vera nam to lower chima ra mo lower ba des ra
Lasa.
lower chima ni te so sem nelo to nyamna ya go chi so na tene ko kono Lasa.
Conceptual or thoughts, the arising of thoughts, the movement of thoughts is also compared to the wave motion on top of an ocean. a wave forms out of the ocean and returns to the ocean. It's one and the same. The conceptualization, the grasping onto our conceptual thoughts, is a temporary stain or a temporary obscuration that prevents us from seeing this mind nature. As soon as that stain is cleared away, we have a realization of true reality. That's Hamjana, absolutely. Namto dosa yomare.
Namto dere ro songs. Namga dong zai.
Je me ba.
Jien dong yomare sta de song dem bo de wo chop de yomare.
When a thought vanishes, it leaves no trace whatsoever. There's no way to track it down. Where did it go? Leaves behind nothing. Okay, we're going to be in the Garchen pamphlet. Mare. The Ming Kakarido. Also, in this one, page 13, 12 and 13. Go back. Page 9.
Some is page 9.
Okay, he says we can skip that one. We'll go to page 12 and 13. Okay, just in English, he said.
Is that the one that's left with Dorjee-chan?
No, glorious, holy, venerable, precious.
Afternoon.
Okay. Glorious, holy,
Venerable, precious, kind, root, and lineage laws. Divine assembly. Yogi, dwelling in the 10 directions. Please hear my prayer.
No. This one.
Yeah, I was right. I'm sorry, there's confusion because some of this has different page numbers. And I'm trying to get it sorted out. It's just there were different times it was printed. So it's dedication prayer by Lord Jigten Songgon is what we will be reciting. Thank you.
So down.
Divine assembly of yidams and assemblies of Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, yogins, yoginis, and dakinis, dwelling in the 10 directions, please hear my prayer. By the power of this vast root of virtue, may I benefit all beings through my body, speech, and mind. May the afflictions of desire, hatred, arrogance, and jealousy not arise in my mind. May thoughts of fame, reputation, wealth, honor, and concern for this life not arise for even a moment. May my mind stream be moistened by loving kindness, compassion, and bodhicitta, and through that may I become a spiritual master with good qualities equal to the infinity of space. May I gain the supreme attainment of Mahamudra as very life. May the torment of suffering not arise even at the time of my death. May I not die with negative thoughts. May I not die confused by wrongdoing. May I not experience an untimely death. May I die joyfully and happily in the greater luminosity of mind and flesh, and the pervading clarity of
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
나도 빠르냐, 그냥 지금.